Hi, my name is Jasmine Balknight, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. So I just turned 23 this past August, and while I currently live in the Bronx, I was actually born in Washington, D.C., and I spent most of my life in the Washington, D.C. area, specifically in Maryland. My parents split up when I was pretty young, and I always lived with my mother. We tended to move around a lot when I was a kid, and so by the time I graduated high school, I had actually attended 6 different schools, which is kind of a lot, especially for someone who was as shy as I was as a kid. And so one of the ways that I learned to cope with always being the new kid was escaping through my love of reading. I always had my books with me no matter what. And so I kind of learned to relate through reading. My favorite subject in school was always reading or English or writing, classes like that. I'm not particularly athletic, and so I never really did sports. I did soccer for maybe a season, but I wasn't that great at it, and I kind of just dropped it. And my mother tried putting me in dance classes, but as she lovingly said, I was basically rhythmless, and so that ended pretty quickly too. But up until I was about 13, I loved to perform, even though I was shy off stage. And so I did plays, took acting classes, and went on a few auditions for things like that. But once I got in high school, I kind of stopped doing that and focused most of my attention on my schoolwork. But that was just because the high school that I attended was actually a magnet school, and I was part of a pre-engineering program that took a lot of my time and attention, just because it had a lot of a math focus, and math was never really my strong point, and it was never exactly my favorite subject. And so I kind of had to work harder in school than I ever did before. But it kind of taught me that if I worked hard, that I could pretty much achieve what I set my mind to. And after I graduated high school, I actually went down to a college down in Macon, Georgia called Mercer University. I had family that lived in Georgia, and I had gone on a college tour of Atlanta when I was in middle school. That kind of gave me the idea of going away to college, and so I always kind of looked at Georgia, and it just so happened that I ended up there. I attended a summer bridge program the summer before classes actually started, and I think that helped me become more comfortable with the idea of college and going away. And one of the things that it did was it allowed me to take classes beforehand, make friends, get a feel for the campus in general. And I think that that was one of the best parts of me going away. My major is communications and always has been communications. But while I was at Mercer, it was technical communications, which was in the engineering school. And as they said, it was explaining technical things to the non-technical person. But now my major is actually just communications with more of a media focus. In my spare time, I still like to read. I still like to write. I like to go see plays and do things like that. But one of my all-time favorite things to do is travel. My first major trip was actually to Europe when I was 13 years old. I had a chance to be part of a program called People to People Student Ambassadors, and along with about 40 other students, we went away to a month-long trip of Europe. While there, we went to France, Italy, Austria, and Switzerland, and it was kind of my first chance to see the world outside of my own little bubble. And it kind of ingrained in me the idea of seeing what's out there and what the world has to offer. While I was there, I got a chance to do some pretty cool things. I actually ran down the Eiffel Tower with a group of friends. I got lost in Venice quite by accident, and while I can laugh about it now, I was actually really terrified at the time. And I got the chance to stay with a host family in Austria, make some local dishes, and learn to cook and things like that. And it was such an incredible trip that it kind of changed the way I saw things. And I think that that's one of the best things about traveling, is seeing how other people live and what is out there in the world. And that's about it. Thank you for listening, and I hope that this gave you a little idea of what makes me, me.